And after the September 11th attacks, President George W. Bush quickly announced that the U.S. would enter Afghanistan.
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. These carefully targeted actions are designed to disrupt the use of Afghanistan as a terrorist base of operations and to attack the military capability of the Taliban regime. In the face of today's new threat, the only way to pursue peace is to pursue those who threaten it.
It was less than a month after the 9/11 attacks, and here's a split screen of then-President Bush in the White House Treaty Room, and nearly 20 years later, President Biden in that same room announcing our exit from Afghanistan. So what was it all for? Let's bring in ABC News contributor and former FBI agent Brad Garrett, senior fellow at New York University Center for Global Affairs and fellow at the Center for International Cooperation, Rina Amiri, and assistant research professor for the Center of Future War at the School of Politics and Global Studies at Arizona State, and the author of the book, No Good Men Among the Living, America, the Taliban, and the War Through Afghan Eyes. Anand Gopal, thank you all for being here today. Brad, I'd like to start with you. Do you feel we accomplished what we initially set out to when we first entered Afghanistan?
No, and I think the issue with Afghanistan was invading Afghanistan. Going after al-Qaeda, going after bin Laden, of course. But you needed to focus on that, not focusing on taking over the entire country, which everyone knew would be a huge problem because no one has been successful in doing that. So you go 20 years later, we finally leave, and now you have the Taliban who were running Afghanistan basically before we invaded Afghanistan. So we've created a circle, and some are concerned that we may even end up with a bigger terrorist state now that we've left, and the Taliban basically are going to run the country and probably mix in with other extremist groups.
Now, Rina, in the aftermath of 9/11, we experienced an anthrax attack, the D.C. sniper attack, entering Afghanistan, the war on terror, entering Iraq. What impact do you think all these events have had on the United States and where we are today?
I think that the whole approach of the war on terror has been, I think, has been confusing and has been misdirected in the way that we've gone about it. The way that we approached Afghanistan through purely a lens of war on terror is one of the reasons why we have failed, I think, in a very significant way. And as your previous speaker noted, it is a country where you have the Taliban in a stronger position, in a more strategic position. They are more legitimized, and the country is as vulnerable, if not more vulnerable, to terrorist attacks because we had the singular lens that I think led us to miss. So we needed a broader aperture to look at how to actually address this issue.
And Anand, you have written a lot about the effects of the war in Afghanistan on the women there. So what are some of the key points you learned in your reporting?
Well, you know, we tend to think of the war in Afghanistan as being very wasteful and destructive to Americans, and it certainly was. But an extraordinary number of Afghan civilians, men and women, have died. Hundreds of thousands of people have been killed. I was recently this summer in southern Afghanistan meeting Afghan women, and the stories they were telling me were just shocking. On average, they lost between 10 to 12 members of their family over the last 2 decades. Most of these losses have never been recorded by official bodies. It's really an unheralded toll. And people are on the ground have to live with this, which is all the more jarring when we consider that the Taliban control today more territory than they did on September 11th, 2001.
One of the big things that people often point to say that it was worth it is the fact that we haven't had a major terror attack in this country since. The events of 9/11 also led to a major restructuring of our security and our intelligence agencies. So do you think overall we're safer now because of that?
I think the real issue...
Sorry, Brad, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so I think we're safer perhaps from catastrophic attacks like 9/11. Do I think we're safer from lone actor attacks? And the answer is no. In fact, I think there's a bigger threat. And the problem, Diane, is that it splits, in my view, to two directions. One, Islamic extremists we've been talking about this morning, and obviously domestic terrorists here in this country that are extremely angry about who's in office today, how the government is running, etc. And the FBI would tell you that's our biggest threat. Again, focusing on lone actors. So I think if you want to draw a line and say, are we safer today from attack? I would say no, from a low-tech individual or maybe two people attack. But we clearly have gotten better at heading off anything anywhere close to 9/11.
And Anand, you seem like you wanted to add to that. Is there something you wanted to say?
No, I agree. Just to say that, by invading Afghanistan and then invading Iraq, we created lots of enemies, lots of people who previously had no interest in being opposed to the United States became opposed because of the excesses and the destruction caused by the war on terror.
All right, Brad Garrett, Rina Amiri, and Anand Gopal, we appreciate your time today. Thank you all.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.